I was thinking about blues music.
Mm-hmm.
Does blues music touch our soul for like a healing power, or does it just allow us to kind of commiserate?
Well, I think it depends on the song, but ultimately, I think the goal, at least for me, regarding my music, is the healing power of the music. It's to, because blues music can be funny, it can be very serious, it can be completely hypothetical, but ultimately most of my songs are about life's experiences to one degree or another. They can be a direct experience and a very literal interpretation of something that I went through, or it can be, based on an experience, and then we kind of, change it to fit the song. Yeah. But ultimately, it's about the music. When I go out on stage every night, or when I make a record, I want people to listen to it. I want to make them feel good, because music is a very powerful thing.
Right. Yeah.
And it has the ability to affect your mood. And that's a very powerful tool. It's a big responsibility. So my goal is to try and do good work with it, and the blues, there's some songs where you can listen to, and this guy's like talking about his woman leaving him and stuff like that, and people can say, hey man, I went through that, or this guy knows exactly what I'm going through right now because he went through it too. And so there's a bit of, there can be commiserating, but there's the end result though is that whether it's because somebody else has experienced the same thing and you feel understood, or you just feel better because you're like, man, that guy had it worse than I did, or whatever. The end result is usually some kind of a better feeling than when you started out.
So you said that it's kind of your responsibility. Is it? You really think that it's your responsibility to try to?
Well, I think
move people through it.
I think you have a responsibility when. It's like, what is that saying? I can't remember who said it, but who's given great power is given great responsibility. I mean, that's kind of how it is. And it's like when you're playing music and you're put out there in a public fashion, people look to you to varying degrees. And I feel like there's a responsibility there. It's up to you what you choose to do with it. Yeah. I mean, there's some people that choose to be set great examples, like B.B. King is one of the greatest examples. He's one of the most humble, accommodating, genuine human beings you could ever meet, and everybody in the world knows who he is. Right. He's done it all and seen it all. Right. And then there's other people who choose to go in the other direction and create this image and persona about them that's, not necessarily about all the most positive things.
Yeah. Right. Does the guitar, does the melody make it bluesy, or do the lyrics make it bluesy? Or do you need both together?
Well, no, you don't. No, the lyrics don't have to be negative, like I said. It doesn't, because people associate blues, people on the surface that aren't necessarily that familiar with blues, they associate it with negativity or self-loathing or whatever. But there's lots of great blues songs that are all about having a good time, or being positive about something, or making light of something. So it's not necessarily just the lyrics. I think the ultimate thing about the blues, I mean, obviously there's the music, but it's how the music is executed. It's where you're coming from when you play it. If you're playing straight from the heart, then that that really is one of the biggest components of the blues.
Do you think that you let life get to you when you were younger, and that's why you were drinking and going off, I'll say, the deep end? I don't know what that means necessarily, but just for... Well, I mean, is it because you were young, or is it because there was so much... You felt that responsibility so heavy that you just... It was overwhelming?
Well, in my experience, I feel like people who do anything to an excessive point, most of the time they're trying to fill some kind of void, or it's like a coping mechanism. Yeah. They're trying to fill some kind of a hole, whatever it may be. Right. So, part of it is when you're in the music business, especially, when you look back on the '60s and the '70s and stuff, and you know, it's like the idea of like being in the music business and in a band is like party and rock and roll, and you can get away with anything, you know. And so a lot of young people that get into bands, it's like that's part of the, to them, being young, that's one of the romantic aspects of being in a band, is being able to, you know, party all night long, and you know, life's just one big party and we're playing music. And so it's easy for people to get sucked into that lifestyle. You know, for me, I just think that it was a certain path that I ended up going down and had to go down, and thank God it didn't get to the point that it was deadly or anything like that, you know.
Didn't get you. Do you look back now and think, thank God? I mean, thank whatever the heavens. I mean, how or the people around you, or whatever got you through it and out of it, or away from it. I guess
for me, it boiled down to God, you know.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just been my experience. That, you know, and some people have a different experience.
And is that part of the responsibility thing that we were talking about? Is you feel maybe a gift or whatever, a responsibility to be uplifting, not only just with your music, but just with your example of life too, right?
Well, certainly. I mean, especially being a father now. I mean, look, there's, I mean, I don't want to mislead people. I mean, you know, I had some definite experiences, and, you know, I used to drink and I used to, you know, live the rock and roll lifestyle. But, I mean, there's certain, I mean, it wasn't to the point of, that other people, you know, have. I mean, there's some guys that are in their 60s, mid-60s, and been doing it their whole lives, and they're still going at it, and it's working for them.
Right.
You know, it just didn't work for me anymore, and I figured, you know, that wasn't what the person I ultimately wanted to be. And now that I'm a father and a parent, it's like, you know, I everything is in a different perspective, because, you know, even back when I was playing music and I was young and drinking or whatever, it was like I still was trying to come from the right place. But right now, it's like I owe it to myself, to my family, and to my children to be a great example, both on stage and off the stage.
Right. So writing the song "Who's Gonna Catch You Now," that's about being a parent, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I got from it.
You know, it's from the perspective of a parent. It actually deals with a couple of things. It's being a parent. It's a little bit into the future for me, because my kids are still very young. But it's kind of twofold. One aspect of it is being a parent, and you're watching your kids grow up and realizing the powerlessness over that. You know, it's like you cannot save your kids from the world, no matter how much you want to, no matter how much you would like to make all their decisions for them and protect them from the mistakes that you made. And it's like, ultimately, you have to just like raise them the best way you can, put your trust in that, and you put your faith in God, let them go out and live their lives and hope for the best, you know? The other thing, the other aspect of the song, it's kind of, it's also like a loved one dealing with a person with addiction or alcoholism, and the same thing about being powerless over that person's demons, and, you know, just having to kind of have faith and you know, do what you got to do.
Yeah, faith is a huge thing, even between us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Another song that I thought was cool on the record is "Show Me the Way Back Home." Maybe again maybe dovetailing a little bit into that addiction thing for a friend who's lost, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's just about somebody who's broken down. I mean, the imagery that's portrayed in the lyrics is, you know, person walking down the road runs into a homeless girl, you know, begging for money, and this guy had gone through great trials and tribulations, and thought that, you know, the world was going to end for him, but actually made it to the other side, and so then saw some of himself in this girl, and then you know, shared his experience, strength, and hope with her to try and help lift her up and give her the motivation to help herself.
Yeah, I always love songs when we're searching for direction.
Yeah.
Or books or movies or whatever, right?
Well, yeah, I think that's generally what we all do, you know, if you get down to the core of it.
Yeah. And almost every day, right? I mean, you get up and you kind of go, okay, where am I and where am I going? And who needs to help me there, whether you're praying or talking to your road manager or your wife or your... Half the times my kids help me with... Especially young ones. They know the truth, don't they?
Yeah.
That's cool. Anywhere the Wind Blows. Maybe that's... Again, I'm sticking right in the direction mode, aren't I?
Well, Anywhere the Wind Blows is kind of like about a guy that's kind of like a wandering soul, you know, just kind of goes from one place to the next, and he's kind of marching to the beat of his own drum.
Mm-hmm.
But searching, just like we were talking about, and trying to find whatever the truth is to him, what resonates with him, but not necessarily being attached to too much, and being detached from things so that he's able to just leave it all behind and continue on living his life, and on to the next thing without any fear of losing things,
Yeah, I think that might be the toughest thing, maybe for me, is the ability to detach, to allow me to search more openly and maybe find it. I don't know.
Depends on what you're searching for. I mean, if you're searching for things, then you probably don't have to look very far. If you're looking for something beyond material items, then ultimately you probably have to detach yourself from things of that nature to be able to really explore the truth and the depth of things beyond that nature.
Does that also mean who you are? The depth of who you are?
Well, who you are is not defined by what you have.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Who you are, it's like, I think, I'm defined by my actions and my word, and, the way I raise my children, and, ultimately, when I'm no longer here, I feel like it's going to be, people will remember me, hopefully, for my music, but what's most important to me, the older I get, is how people remember me as a person, and whether or not I was a good, honest person, and whether or not I raised my kids well, and I was a good husband to my wife, and those things are very important.
Is that the way your parents raised you?
Yeah, but it's also, some of that stuff is stuff you can hear growing up, but you can only really come to realize it with age and experience.
Right.
Yeah,
that's true.
But, it's just like we did that 10 Days Out documentary. There was a song called U-Haul on it with this guy, Cootie Stark, and that whole thing about that song is you never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse, and the idea is you can't take any of this stuff with you. It's like you think you own all of this, and especially nowadays with all these things that we have, like, mortgages and car loans and this and that, it's like, do you own it or does it own you? And the thing is ultimately when you die, you can't take any of it with you. Right. So all you really have is who you are at your core. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So when did you get past things?
Well, I think it's kind of a bit of a daily struggle in modern society.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like just trying to detach. I mean, it's like walking a fine line between trying to, further your career, provide better for your family, and not get caught up in the numbers or, the things or the awards or things like that. It's like, but ultimately, I feel like the older I get, the easier it gets for me, because having children was one of the biggest things that put it all in perspective for me. From my experience, having kids changed everything, and just showed me, my fans and my music is one of the most important things in my life, period. I mean, it has enabled me. I mean, it got me to the point where I could have children and be able to provide for my kids. But having kids and starting a family, and it just changes everything, and that has really put a lot of things in perspective about what's really important in life for me.
What's weird for me is my kids are older than yours, but I found it almost tougher about the things part, because the kids are inundated with friends who have stuff, TV. Everything is about getting the next cool thing, or whatever, is dolls or video games or whatever, and it's almost like it became a harder struggle for me as a parent to go, no, wait a minute, these things don't make a difference in your life, because that's all they really know at the time, Mm-hmm. So that's I wish you the best of luck through that, because that was a big struggle for me when my kids wanted things, because then I want to provide for the things for my kids, because the neighbor guy provided for his kids.
Hey, don't get me wrong, man. And if my daughter says she wants something,
right?
I don't know if she's heard no from me yet.
So such a dad, right?
Yeah, but it's slightly different. I mean, because it's, your kids, you just want to see them happy,
right?
But I'm just saying my own personal pursuit of things for me, and I think that when they grow up, they'll get I mean, I would like to think they'll grow to have the same perspective that I have at this point in my life.
Yeah, man.
And they'll learn it too. But society today, a lot of what we do is all about things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, keep shoving it down our throats. And for some reason, I keep listening. But that's why I listen into music like yours to try to get past it. So there's my stroke part during the interview. Hey, another song on it is "The Wire."
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it that life is great and confusing, confusing and great.
Yeah. Well, it's really the dichotomy of it all. It's like life can be as rewarding as it can be challenging.
Yeah.
And that's another theme that you can kind of, if you look over the course of my career and the songs that we've written, it's kind of a reoccurring theme, but ultimately, like I said, all of my songs are about life's experiences. Those are things that I think everybody can relate to. I just try and keep it as real as possible. Is
there something in that song about what I think is an important part too, is just keep moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's another, that's kind of like Anywhere the Wind Blows, or there's another song on the Place You're In record called Believe. It's, it's like this reoccurring theme of, just kind of like giving to my listeners the things that have inspired me to continue on, in times of trial or times, that were difficult, and the things that the core beliefs and things that I identified with that have continued to motivate me.
Obviously, the Never Looking Back song is perfect for that too, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's just about starting, turning over a new leaf, leaving old things behind, and not like looking back with any kind of morbid reflection, but constantly looking. The glass is half full, not half empty.
Yeah.
Moving forward in life with a good attitude and just feeling good about everything.
So you said you made Big Switch because of God. What does that mean per se? I mean, does it mean you're church-going guy? Does it mean you have talks get around with people and just talk about bigger issues in life? Or
I go to church. I don't feel that. A lot of people are spiritual in their own way.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I go to church on Sundays. But ultimately, I have found that a lot of people that I know, we have all kind of shared similar experiences, and the things that really enabled us to become, what we wanted to become in life, and to live life the way we wanted to live it, was to, seek a spiritual connection,
Yeah.
And because I believe that there is a power out there that's greater than myself. I like to call it God. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, I'm only human, and I can only do so much. And so I have to enlist help every once in a while,
Well, I think church and a concert and even basketball games, sometimes the spirit is moving in the room, and that's when I feel like life is fantastic.
Yeah.
So I almost think I never try to box it all into one area. I just sort of wonder where everybody is searching. You know what I mean? So, hey, a couple of songs off of the Live On record.
Yeah.
So it's what, 1997, 99? Sorry. So you were. I guess I think as I'm going through the lyrics of that record, you were really searching for things there, like, and maybe even the lead track, In Too Deep, I thought was really feeling like you're stuck in a place that you can't get out of. So you're writing from where you were at the time, right?
Basically, I mean, there were songs that, I mean, even when you're young, man, especially when you're trying to be creative, and musically, artistically, it's a searching experience, and when you playing music, especially, that's a lot of soul searching right there. So, I mean, it's about, that song is definitely being kind of caught in the crossfire, and being pulled in a few different directions and not really knowing which way to go. But I never, I've tried to not be too literal with situations like that. Just because, number one, I always appreciated when I was young and listening to songs, I appreciated the songs that I felt I could apply to my own life. Like I was free to interpret the lyrics in the way that applied to my life. And when you're like too literal about something,
exactly, yep.
you close the door on that opportunity for the listener. So, I try not to just like make it so black and white, but I mean, the message is there, the experience is there, the emotion is there, but I leave it, lyrically open for the listener to be able to interpret in the way that they want and apply it to their own lives.
Well, even then, back then when you were young and reckless and didn't even have kids in your mind, maybe, you're writing songs like the title track, and it was all about fighting and keeping fighting and going forward, and you were always in that place, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, that's the kind of guy I am. I mean, I like to believe that I'm a resilient guy. I feel like I'm a persistent person, and kind of the guy that I feel like I've always been kind of searching through my life, trying to, figure out at the core who I am and who I want to be and what I want to do with myself, and, always in the pursuit of trying to better myself personally, professionally, and in all these areas. So, of course, that would definitely come out of my music, I would think, as well.
Yeah, yeah. When you had to make your big change in life, did you have to get rid of a few friends that were kind of enablers or whatever?
There's certain, like I live my life today in such a way that I like to associate myself with people that I feel live their lives in a similar fashion. So I try and associate with people that I feel are, leave a positive example,
that uplift around them, right?
Uplifting.
Yeah.
They're positive vibes to be around, that's just what I want to be. That's what I want my kids to see. That's what I want to be for them, and that's what I want to associate myself with. People that take life seriously, people that step up to the challenge. They don't back down in the face of adversity and things like that. It's like, that is what I try and associate myself with. So that wasn't always the kind of people that hung around. Now, I'm not saying that I just don't socialize or associate with you unless you fall into my box,
Right, yeah.
But I'm just saying, it's like one of my really good friends in the car industry the other day, he's one of my dearest friends. This guy is a CEO of a huge company. He's got 2 kids that are just about grown. One's in college. The other one is going to be in college soon. And I look at how he raised his kids, and I admire it. His kids are great examples of young adults. And, and he said, hey, man, that's just because, obviously he had a set of rules and morals and things that he instilled in them. But also he was like, he just did not bring any kind of ruckus around,
Right.
It's like
ruckus.
You just try and show your kids by your actions what you believe to be right and acceptable and what's wrong or not acceptable.
Yeah. Well, just talking about kind of what we were talking about, but I think it was so honest to write the song "Where Was I?" as you're sort of looking at your life, kind of going, "Wow, how did I get here?"
Well, I mean, that song actually ended up being an up-tempo song in the studio, but it was written as a ballad. That's really more of a love song, which I'm kind of a sucker for a good love song. Always have been since I was a kid. And so I've written several of them over the years. And like I Found Love When I Found You, that's a song on the second record. I can't tell you how many people have told me that was their wedding song.
Oh, really? Wow.
And things like that. And Where Was I was another one of those just ways of trying to show a person how important they are to you and how much you care about them. It's like, where was I before you came around? It's like, I feel like I wasn't complete. I didn't amount to what I do amount to now that we're together.
So what does it mean being a car enthusiast? I mean, does it mean you collect some cars, or you just? What does it mean?
I go beyond that. I mean, I have a very small, modest collection.
Okay.
But I buy them, I strip them down and redesign like the appearance and rebuild them. So I like to customize them. I like to buy base model. I like 60s and 70s American muscle cars. And then I just like to tear them apart and rebuild them and design
You
them.
yourself?
Well, me with the help of my friends, because
right.
I can't. I'm not capable of doing it all. I can't paint a car. I'm not good at body work. I'm mechanically...
You can't hone out a cylinder and...
No, but I am mechanically inclined. I mean,
Yeah.
I know how to take things apart and put them
Sure.
back together.
Right.
And I feel like I have an eye for design as well. So,
Yeah.
And I build them and I drive them. I mean, I've driven across this country several times in my muscle cars. Every year I go on a like 3,000-mile road trip with my friends over the course of a week or two.
Really?
Yeah, and
and is it like just sort of a caravan of cool cars?
yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
We're actually talking about doing one with just a small group of us in January up the California coast. So,
Oh wow.
but you know, it's become. I mean, I've always loved cars, even when I was a little kid. It's just that my career has
Sure.
given me the opportunity to pursue my passion with cars, and now it's like sometimes you're more likely to see me in a car magazine than in a guitar magazine nowadays.
Nice.
It's just like it's kind of a toss up between the two. I'm just so passionate about both. And some people collect cars, they buy them as an investment, and it sits in their garage and they show it off to their friends.
Yeah.
To me, it's about actually like being creative, designing something, watching it come together, and then driving it and actually experiencing it and using it. You know what I mean?
You know, Hot Wheels cars.
Yeah.
Was that what it was? Is that how it sort of evolved? It's like, okay, we make all these normal stock cars, and then we have these crazy guys doing Hot Wheels cars, and now somewhere we've been able to incorporate, these 2-inch cars into on-the-road muscle cars.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, but the little 2-inch cars were inspired by original cars. Like there were the full-scale
Right.
cars first.
Right.
But one of my good friends is building like real-life Hot Wheels cars for a Hot Wheels
Seriously?
company. Yeah.
Oh, so cool.
For the car show circuit and stuff. So I've seen some real-life Hot Wheels cars go from concept to reality just in the past like 2 years.
No way.
It's pretty cool, man. They do some wild stuff. But yeah, that's kind of how it started with me. I had thousands and thousands of Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars.
Right.
Everywhere I went, I had several, and like every pocket of my outfit had a car in it. In art class, I would draw cars and in art,
Right.
And when I was a kid and people were like, well, if your music career doesn't work out, what could you see yourself doing? I always said, hey, man, I would be doing something to do with cars. I'd be a race car driver or something,
Right.
And so now, in my off time, I'm doing stuff with cars. I'm building cars, going to car shows, making appearances. I'm also like, me and my friends will rent out racetracks and take our cars out on the track. And
So how fast have you gone?
I've done like 160 to 180 miles an hour.
Dude.
But legally on a racetrack,
Right, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, what have you done off a racetrack?
I drive respsponsibly, dude.
There you go,
I have
brother.
3 kids, you know what I mean?
You've got to tell me what it feels like going 160 miles an hour. The G-forces, your cheeks must be sucked back into your...
No, you know what? The cars, the technology today is so incredible that when you're in a car that's going that fast, the car generally is built to handle that kind of speed.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel like you're going that fast.
Yeah.
It's actually a pretty smooth ride.
So can you actually rent out a track and race with your buddies around the track?
Yeah.
So you're passing somebody at 140 miles an hour
Yes.
while they're going 138, and
Yeah.
you've got to draft off them. And
You can. It just depends on your skill level, And there's companies that'll rent them out, and people can sign up, and for amateurs and beginners and stuff. And based on your ability and your skill level and your comfort level, they'll allow you to do certain things.
wow. Hey, man, thanks a ton for the time.
No problem.
I can't
Nice
tell
talking
you.
with you.
I appreciate it.
Cool.